Theo Rossi. You know what it is. I don't need to say it. I'm going to start going by the first name, just Theo. Just that's it. We're going like that. Watch Luke Cage, watch Sons of Anarchy, watch Low Riders, watch whatever. Soon to be whatever's coming out. Shout out to the BKS Experience. I'm honored and humbled to be here.
You are the best kept secret in the universe.
Going down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the BKS Experience. I'm yours truly, Mr. Live to Inspire, Eddie Brown.
And I am celebrity photographer Ty Waterman. And before we get this thing rolling, I need y'all to click that like button. Make sure y'all subscribe and drop a comment because this guest here, oh my God, this man he has a lot in common with not just myself, but a famous group called the Wu-Tang Clan. He's an actor extraordinaire and a nice, what I like to call philanthropist. Invested in water. That's the thing that I don't know we all need. With that said, let me kick it over to my man Theo Rossi. What's up, brother?
Man, thank you so much for having me. Feeling good, barring the circumstances of certain things that are going down. I'm good, man. I got no complaints. Family's healthy and safe, and all good, man. I'm happy to be here.
All right.
Definitely.
So how long have you been acting?
Oh man. I started from like literally under the bottom. It was the last thing that I was ever going to do. When they say things happen by accident, this was truly the biggest accident on the planet. So it's been now, as crazy as this sounds, 20 years almost. And the first maybe 7 or 8 was literally like that giant climb, like doing anything, whatever, whenever, I started in New York. But again, it was the polar opposite of what I was doing. I didn't start till late. I didn't start acting until I was 24. You know what I mean? I was living a real different life before that. And now here we are. But the game really changed when Sons of Anarchy hit in like 08, 09. That was when there was a different feel to the whole thing.
Was there a big stretch from the character you played to your real your personal self? Like, I mean, I don't know. You could have been in the biker gang.
No, I didn't know anything. What's crazy is there's always a little part of you, you know what I mean? Like something, right? And then there was more somethings put in, by the creator as we kind of went. There was a lot of stuff that was kind of serendipitous that was put in, but like that I didn't even know he knew. But I'm fortunate because every single character I play is so wildly different from me, but at the same time, they do have pieces of me, and what those are, it's kind of hard to explain. Everything's so different. Like Shades is so different from Juice, and Ghost is so different from, like, everyone I play is extremely different because I don't ever really want people to know who I am. I've always kind of tried to move in silence. Like, I don't want people to know who I am. I want them to know my characters, and that's always what I've been. And I know that that's kind of not the way people do it nowadays, right? They just kind of are brands or celebrities or whatever. I just never really had an interest in that.
What was it like? I mean, speaking of Shades, what was it like, jumping into that character? Because I meet you, man, and it's just like a real cool dude. Like, you would think we grew up together. Yeah. It's like, you don't run into everybody in the industry that has that vibe, but like, Shades is just that guy that's, out for the hits and listening to whatever he's told and, on his own mission. But, adjusting to that character, how was that like?
Why would we set you up? You're our customer.
Not anymore, I'm not.
What? We had a deal.
You say you got a job.
That was the dopest thing for me because Cheo Cheo Hodari Coker had written the original script for a film I did called Lowriders. So we kind of had this connection. And then my man Charles Murray, who was the executive producer on Sons, he basically had kind of hit me up, and I had just moved to New York. And when I found out about it, they were kind of super like quiet about it, because this is when Daredevil was out and hit. And I think Jessica Jones might have been out at that point, but maybe not. And you knew that they were going to do all the Defenders. And I'm like anything. I think, I was always a comic book guy. I was collecting them, and I was, crazy about it when I was young, but I wasn't like so crazy about it. And at that point in my life, obviously older. And when I got the call, I knew what it was for. I had actually met with them on a completely different role. I don't even know if anybody knows this. I had originally met on like the cop character Scarf, and
wow.
And then something happened with Charles and Cheo, and Shades came up, and I was kind of like whatever on Shades, because the first season was really all about Mahershala's character a lot, and Alfre and I kind of were like in the back, kind of chilling, like, waiting and figuring it out. And we knew when we got into the first season what the second season was going to be, and then what the third season was supposed to be. We knew. So once I heard that, I was all in. And the reason why Shades was so appealing to me was because he was so different from the character I played on Sons of Anarchy. Like, he was so different. Yeah. And I hadn't played someone that was like so manipulative, and yet at the same time had this deep history about him. And then more importantly, Alfre Woodard's like literally one of my acting idols. Like, I don't use that word a lot, but she's like, she should get everything in this life because she's just so incredible. And then Mahershala and I had known each other for a very long time. Prior to that, we did some show Alcatraz way before that. So it was just the perfect scenario. And the truth is, and I think Netflix dropped the ball. There's never really been a show like that on TV that really not just supported the culture so much in New York and hip hop and mixed real life with kind of fake life, that it was a no brainer for me. Like, there was not even a question. It felt, and I was going home and I was going to be around all my people, and I was going to be like literally celebrating hip hop and a million other things in this show. It's just a perfect storm.
Wow.
So going home, that means home being New York.
New York.
You grew up in was it Staten Island?
Yeah, my family, Brooklyn to Staten Island, did that move that everybody did in the 80s. Well, all the people in Staten Island did, and then got lost there because it's like its own place. And Staten Island growing up, and I said this to, I hate the name dropping thing, but it's like Method Man and all those guys. It's like we didn't have an identity until they came out. Like, we were nobody. And we were always, what did everybody from Staten Island say when they would be out in Manhattan, or because Brooklyn wasn't really popping in the point in the 80s, was you'd be like, oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Because you just never wanted to be from Staten Island. Because people be like, oh, you're from Long Island? And it's like, no, Staten Island's totally different. They're like, what's that? Oh, the place with the dump. Oh, the place that smells. Oh, the place with all the Guidos. Oh, the place. And it would just be like, you couldn't. But then when, 36 Chambers came out, it was like you were so proud to say you were from there, because they had legitimately changed hip hop. They had, and we were there when they were like selling the tapes out of the trunks, because where Park Hill is on Bay Street, where all the bars were. That's where everybody went. People started going to bars when they were like 14. And in all the clubs that were surrounding, everybody would come there. So like people, I remember like one of the first shows I ever saw was like Rob Bass and Biz Markie would show up there. Wow. And like, so everybody would like show up. And it was this one huge street, almost like Mardi Gras, kind of right in the middle of the projects and all. And it was crazy. It was crazy. And then when they hit, it was like, we had never thought about something like that. And then it made you proud to say you were from there. It's a crazy place. I tried to, it's a crazy place. in general. It's definitely got its own issues. But yeah, that's where I grew up. So I went back when I went back for Cage. We filmed in Brooklyn and Harlem, but I had 3 dogs. We were having a baby, so I went back to the area I grew up to. But a nice part. And
He said, upgrade, better.
Listen.
Major improvement.
I ain't mad at you. I am not mad at you.
I went to the nice part, and it was different, man. Again, I'm a little, I think I'm past the weather. Man, that snow is just, and when I went back, so the year I got back, whatever, 2014, 2013, or whenever it was the second worst recorded winter in history of New York City. And then the year after that was the second coldest recorded in history. And I was like, what am I doing here?
Right. Like, it's time to get out of here.
It's time to get out.
I'm so conditioned to that weather, so it's all love over here for me.
Yeah.
You had, so it seemed like you had hip hop, growing in your veins, like growing up. So who was some of the people that inspired you, like in the hip hop game, that you was growing up listening to and stuff?
I always, again, I'm a kid. I'm born in '75, so I truly journeyed with hip hop. So I literally remember it, as crazy as it sounds. You know how there's always the older kid in the neighborhood who, like, you're like, oh man, whatever he's into, he's got it. Like he was getting the girls. He was the best football player. Back then you'd strap on the Rawlings helmet and people have like jeans on playing football and like killing each other. And he was a Raiders fan, which made me a Raiders fan, like an Oakland Raiders fan for life. Like, cause he was just into the Raiders, and that's when the Raiders were like super badass. And then I remember the year, cause it's gotta be, I think the record came out in like 83 or 84. He had like a 45 of like Rappin' Duke, the hard, right? And again, I was like, he put it on, he would play it all day. And I had never, again, I'm like, whatever, 8 or 9 years old, I had not heard that, that. And even though it was so crazy and ridiculous at the point, but it was just, I hadn't heard anything. And then that was the same time, I think it was similar where Jam On It by Nucleus, and like things were coming out. What was it then? You had Slick Rick, you had Run DMC, you had, everybody was out, Dougie Fresh. And but then what really changed it, and I remember the moment as clear as I'm seeing it right now. I started skateboarding, riding the BMX bike, doing the whole thing. And we were down skateboarding, and these kids were like killer. They had like, they brought out the little ramps and they're doing it. And they put down a boombox that you used to kind of paint and do the whole thing like Radio Raheem style. And they were playing Public Enemy, and it was Don't Believe the Hype. So it's like 87, 88. And I didn't even know what I was listening to. It just took me over, and that was it. That was all I wanted to hear. So from then on in, and I listened to everything. I mean, I literally listened to everything from, growing up. I always remember my mom listening to, George Benson and, Lionel Richie. And then I'll listen to Edith Piaf and the Killers and the Rolling Stones. But hip hop has been the narrative that tied it all together throughout. And again, I think the 90s, and that's why everybody celebrates it so much. Obviously, the 90s in hip hop is the foundation where we got slightly past the 80s of people kind of doing experimental, figuring things out. Rakim really kind of brought it into the MC game. And then hip hop, the 90s, which was just like the Hall of Fame. Everybody was hitting it out of the park. And then it's not a knock on hip hop now at all. There's some amazing things going down now. But I was very fortunate that became the soundtrack of my life. And then when I moved to LA, when I was early 20s, that was a whole different realm, because there was no East Coast hip hop. There was no Hot 97 you couldn't, it was just different. Big Boys, it was just different.
Big difference. Yeah. So when I said earlier, I said we have something in common. For me, it's more when I'm trying to find out more about you and everything. And one of the questions that pops up when they see you acting in these different roles is, what is he? They want to know, like, what are you? They're trying to figure out, is he white? Is he black? Is he Spanish? What is he? Me, myself, I grew up half black and half Thai. And in that era where we didn't have like the only mixtures you know of is like black and white. You know,
right.
maybe black and Spanish or white and Spanish, but we didn't know other things. And so when I was reading your breakdown, so to speak, the difference, and then also not having people that you can identify with,
Yeah.
and trying to navigate going to school and meeting new friends and trying to let them experience your culture or not wanting them to because you're afraid that your own vulnerabilities that you'll get laughed at or made fun of. What was that like for you growing up and then breaking into the industry? How did that play any effect on it?
Yeah, that's great, especially and so timely now. And it was something where you even still have this thing inside of you where you hide from it. Because assimilation was a thing that we all did when we were young, which is, you know, that started with our families. You know, when my grandparents came over, you know, in their original name when they were in the Middle East in Arabic is Hilwi, and then they changed it to Halwi, and then they changed it to Halway to assimilate to be as American as possible, right? And when my great grandfather marries my great grandmother, Adma Tyson, who's black, and he gets excommunicated from the family, and everything kind of, and then you have the last name, which is Italian. So you're in an Italian neighborhood. So what do you just want to tell people, man, I'm just Italian. Don't bother me. Don't, you know, I'm just darker. And I just, you know, and I'll never forget the first time I felt weird about it. There was a kid in the neighborhood and, you know, he had come over my house and we were young, you know, whatever. And my mom has all the pictures up, like, you know, everybody does. There's 100 pictures of, you know, people from forever ago. And I don't know why he said this because it wasn't whatever, but he, and again, this was back in the day. Kids were ruthless in the 80s and or like ruthless. It's not like it is
they'd
now.
cut you with them words. Oh,
ruthless. And he was a little older than me, and he's like, "Oh man, oh you're Jewish. You're not Italian. You're this." And I was like, "What?" I didn't know anything. I didn't even know that there was like. And first of all, I didn't know if that was bad or good. I didn't know what he was saying, but he kept saying it and kept saying it. And like he was making fun of me, and then he started saying it to other people. And I went to my mom, and I was super young. I didn't even know. And I said, "What is he saying?" And she was like, "Ignore him. He doesn't know anything." I was like, "But what does he mean by that?" Because I didn't even know that. I didn't know anything. I knew people looked different, but to me, like you could be fat, skinny, tall, short, this, that, like, you know, some skin. I knew people who were, you know, Sicilian who were super dark. I knew people who were Puerto Rican who were super dark. I knew people who were super light and who were Italian or Irish. Like I didn't know anything. And she started explaining Lebanon and Lebanese and Syrian and all these things and Spanish and Italian. And again, it just didn't really stick to me. So then as I got older, it was just easy for me to not say anything, right? So then when I got into acting, and I've told this story before, I get into acting. And I go to, I'll never forget this. I'm at one of the biggest studios. I don't like putting people on blast. I'm at like one of the biggest studios. I first get there and I'm testing for a show and I'm excited. Like I'm a kid I didn't have anything. Like I was like, I'm this close to like getting like on the TV show. And the woman stopped paying attention to me totally. Like while I was reading, she literally just wasn't even looking at me. And she cut me off. She's like, okay. And I was like, oh, that's not good. In my mind, I'm thinking that's not good. And she said, hey, I have a question for you. She goes, do you do anything else? And I'm like, no, this is it. And I was maybe in LA a year. And she said, listen, if you do anything else, you should do it. This isn't for you. She goes, let me just explain to you why. It's not about your acting. She goes, nobody's going to know what to do with you. Like, they're not going to know where to put you. Like, people like a box. They like to know who you are. So when they're casting roles, they like to say, we want this type. And we want this type. And I was in a funk for a minute, but then it like pumped me up and I said, fuck this woman. Like I used it as fuel, like petrol. I was like, no, that's not that. This is a superpower because I could play everything. Acting is playing everything. So I'm going to play everything. And then it was like a couple of years later. This sounds completely crazy. Homeboy made a short film called Multifacial. And it was Vin Diesel. And he made a short film that went into like Sundance Film Festival. And it was about him going to auditions in New York and no one knowing what he is. And it was this cool little short film that he made for himself. And then Steven Spielberg wound up seeing that short film. And that's how he got into Private Ryan and hence became Vin Diesel. And when I saw that, it wasn't as extreme as him, even though he, nobody knows. You look at him and you're like, who knows, right? And it gave me this sign of like, an actor's supposed to be able to play everything, and nobody knows. You tell anybody you're from the Middle East or you're Arab American, and they think the first thing that comes to their mind is somebody wearing, the dashiki and like, wearing head, and they're just going to immediately profile into what you are. People are stupid. I say we're in a war in this world between smart people and stupid people. It's just the way it is. They can't fathom anything. And for me, it was always I just wanted to fit in because I wanted to make it, because I didn't have a plan B. So I didn't really know how to address anything or what to say. And I didn't want to complicate people, especially, remember, we're coming off 9/11. I started acting in 2000. It's like things get complicated. When we were young, don't speak Arabic, don't speak Italian, don't speak Spanish, speak English, shut up. Don't celebrate anything. Be like everybody. Assimilate was what we were told. I find that so interesting where now and thank God, as having two little sons, it's become about individualism. Right. You know what I'm saying? And celebrating and celebrating cultures and celebrating history and celebrating the things that you are, where what people don't realize, wasn't like that. There were outliers. There were people who were like Chuck D, what we talked about, Public Enemy, who were just unabashedly like, this is what's up. This is who I am. And those were the ones who were moving forward in that, but that was their image of this is it, right? And for me, I was trying to get in a business that, I just said this the other day, is complicit in the racism that people feel throughout the world, because Hollywood has portrayed people, of anybody who's darker than a piece of fax paper, has always been on the other side of the table getting questioned, has always been the person doing dirt, has always been the person wrong. And anybody who's the other way has always been celebrated and the hero. And that's just the way Hollywood has been since 1915, when they released the movie Birth of a Nation. You know what I'm saying? Which celebrated white supremacy.
Man.
They're complicit in that forever. And the way they get past that, and that's why in the executive levels and all that stuff. So what Ebro and I say, my man Ebro, is like, it starts, what people don't realize is that there are certain people, and this isn't even about what color you are or whatever, that it starts here. Most of us were born into debt, or, our families were just trying to get by. The best advice they can give you is make money. They couldn't tell you what to do with it. If you made it, it was just like, make money. I don't know what to do after. So it starts here. So for me, again, why now I'm more like, okay, but I'm never enough of anything. See, that's the craziest thing. I'm not Spanish enough. I'm according to the last DNA test, I'm like 11% North African. That's not enough. I'm not enough of anything. Right. But what people don't realize is, if they were smart, nobody's everything. Nobody. Right. And they can't understand history. They don't understand things about Sephardic Jews coming out and, getting persecuted for being Christian. And they don't understand Middle Easterners moving to Latin America and moving down. They just don't understand things. And for me, I've always been, I believe education is the key to anything, whatever that is. You don't want to be dumb in this life. And Hollywood in itself has always been closed-minded in the way of because the people who are running it, they can't understand more than what they think they know. This person's a gangbanger, that person's a terrorist, that person's this, that, but they can't. So for me, I've always had an upward climb, because it was, where do I fit in? Mm-hmm. And now it's become a bit of a superpower for me. And who knows, because now they want to put you in a box more than anything. I can't tell you how many roles where they're like, well, he's not Hispanic enough. Mm. Well, he's surely not, black enough. He's surely not white. Well, he's not white. Well, what do we do? Can't call him Mike. Doesn't look like a Mike. It's like, so again, it's like, well, he's not all Italian, because I've seen Italians and he ain't Italian. So, and it's like, so for me, it's like, what I'm hoping for with Hollywood is that they get to a point where it's just the actor, whether he
Right.
be a lawyer, a doctor, whatever he is, it's the person playing it. I don't think that'll happen.
I don't.
But
I
I
don't
hope
see
that they
that.
do.
Right.
I
It's
don't see
crazy.
that, and I want to say thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That brought me on like an emotional roller coaster with my own personal identity, especially the box, because I didn't realize I was different until I was told to check that box to say who I was. And I didn't know how to answer that. And my parents weren't equipped to teach me how to answer that question,
That's
you
right.
know. And so we have to teach our children, you know. And it's funny that you said the DNA. I literally just got my DNA test kit in
Yes.
the mail.
I've
So
done
I'm
5.
because I want to find out more now. So
Yeah.
instead of me running away from it and just being black, I'm trying to find out a lot more. I know who I am, but as a kid, I didn't know. So that is a very important thing.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I've done 5 of them, you know, and they're all kind of right around the same thing. And I did it because I wanted to know. You know, my father, I didn't really know my birth father well. You know, I've seen pictures of him. He looks like a Colombian drug lord. Like I didn't know much about him. You know what I'm saying? And like I had kind of a severed relationship from him. And then also, I want my kids to also understand, because again, what people don't realize even about older folks, you know, this was, as much of it was an issue, it wasn't as pinpointed. It was like whatever, they just didn't care. It was like, we're treated like this and this person treated like that and that person this, and we just want to do well, we just want to survive, we want to go, you know, we want to succeed, and we want to make money, and we want to be okay, and we don't want to bother anybody. And for me now, again, why I think it's so important, and like you said, I just never want to be put in a box. I never want to be labeled in anything in this life. I don't want to be just an actor. I don't want to be just a father and a husband. I don't want to be just a business owner. I want to be able to be one of those people that jumps in everywhere. And once people start boxing you, they control you. I'm not being boxed. And I'm going to, if that means I got to fight from the bottom my whole career, no problem. So these people that go out, and it happens a lot, especially in Hollywood, because people like to virtue signal, is they go out and they want to put themselves in that box because they want that identity, because they don't have one outside of Hollywood. They want that one. They go out and, you know, they really preach it up of this is what they are. And that's great. And I love that, because that's a celebration for them. But they have that ability to do that. I don't. You don't. You know what I mean? And that's the thing where it's important, because as long as you're comfortable with yourself, that's all that matters at the end of the day. So yeah, it's been an interesting time, especially over the 20 years, because they didn't even know, especially these writers, they don't know what's going on.
That's dope, man. I mean, you pretty much answered my question. I was going to get into, you know, obstacles along the way and obstacles along your journey, but I want to ask you, were there any mentors, you know, throughout your journey, you know, in your acting career and, you know, pursuing what you're doing now?
100%. I mean, all the time. I mean, mentors on and off the game.
Okay.
My uncle kind of moved down when I was 14. He had left New York when he was 21 because my grandfather had died. And this was back in the day where like you would have multiple heart attacks and you wouldn't go to the hospital. So my grandfather had like 5 heart attacks and like died in his bed. And my grandfather, and then my uncle didn't take it too well. So he escaped to California when he was 21. So this is in the early, like late 60s or whatever. And he, you know, became like totally different. That's where I got my knowledge of like bikers. Like that's, he went out to Northern California and he was just, you know, constantly high and, you know, selling dope and doing everything, whatever. And then he moved back down when I was 14, and he kind of took on the mantle of, I'm gonna do my best to help in raising me, because I didn't have a male figure in my life at all. And he was a person that was broker than broke, terrorized by money his whole life. So he didn't have that obstacle. He wasn't that guy. He had a quadruple bypass when he was 44, and he was on dialysis. You know, diabetes runs rampant in my family. So he was able to be there with me, and was a huge part of my development, because he was just such a chill dude. And he just basically was like, we can do anything. Like we can do anything. but at the same time, like we're going to get in trouble, and that's okay. And so that was a big part of it. When I got into the acting game, the first really people who kind of took me by the hand, you know, I always point to Jimmy Smits, and Alfred, you know, Alfred's a huge part of my, and it's crazy because it's only the last couple of years, but watching her, her freedom of who she is, she's so different from me. I would know my lines, your lines, everybody's lines on the set. I would know everything. I have to, you know, that's between takes, I'm like on my headphones, I'm like away. I have to be whatever. And she would like learn her lines in the dressing room. She'd like try anything. And it was so much fun. And she was in such control of who she was, you know, 40 something years in the game, all those accolades. So she taught me a lot on how to let go of some stuff. Jimmy Smits taught me a lot on how to be comfortable when we were doing Sons of Anarchy, meaning like, don't worry about them. Don't worry about everybody else. And just do you. They'll keep up. And he gave me a confidence that was pretty amazing without even knowing it. He's the reason I've gotten certain roles outside of, you know, the shows that I would ask him and I would go. He also taught me little things like know every single person's name on set. That's your job. Know 3 to 4 a day. Because he would know everybody's name. And I was like, that's the move. He would go, you know, clean your trailer. It better be exactly as it was when you walked in. These people don't work for you. They work with you. You know, when you see these actors who just throw shit everywhere and the fucking place is a mess and garbages are full. And he was like, no, you throw out your own garbage. You do whatever. And it was that blue collar attitude that I had anyway that I saw in him. And I went, yep, that's why this dude's been doing this for 40 years on the biggest shows and has been this iconic person in television and film. So those two stand out for me. Then there was different levels of like little people, you know, people who had more fun. You know, one thing that I learned from Perlman, for example, is, you know, Perlman was one of those guys, again, very opposite from me. And I'm getting there where he could be talking like we're talking right now. And in the background, they're yelling like rolling, action. And he'll be like, hold on one sec. And then just turn into this killer. And then they call cut and he's like, what was I saying? And I'm like, how does this dude do that? And I was like, again, I'm that guy that's like in the corner, got to like get into it, okay, like a fighter. And then they're like, okay, call me and I'm ready because I got to be like in there. And now I'm getting, and again, that comes with tenure. It comes with time. And so he was a big part in like the action part of it. And then in my personal life, you know, Katie Seagal was a huge thing for me.
Wow.
Huge. Because I was just like, you know, I was crazy when I was young and I really didn't have a care. I was one of those people, probably like a lot of people that were like, I'm not going to live past 30 something. Like that was kind of my deal. Like, I think that a lot of certain people have that thought. And because of that, you're kind of going twin turbo engine and don't care. Right. And she kind of sat me down and was just like, we were in makeup one day and she was like, listen, you have, this whole thing's a blink and things like this don't come around a lot, like hit shows and having this ability to get people to know you and to perform. And it's such a rarity, you know, and here she was married with children and all these other things she had done. She was like, it's such a rarity. She goes, don't miss the opportunity. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm here. And she was like, no, don't miss it. You got to get clear on everything. And I stopped I don't do anything. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do anything. And that was like a huge moment where I went, oh, I got like a short moment here. And a short moment could be 20 years, but it's a short moment where you have the ability to do the most, for lack of a better word, damage. And by the way, nobody's given me anything. I wasn't given $100 million movie when I was 18. I wasn't, you know, I didn't have no mommy and daddies that were producers or grew up on sets and, you know, whatever. I didn't have any connections to Hollywood. I never knew anyone who was an actor. I never met anyone who was an actor. I didn't have any of the abilities. I didn't go to the Royal Academy. I didn't have any of that. So I knew that I was already starting outside the stadium and they wanted me to win the race. So I was like, why would I keep kicking myself? It seems foolish. And she taught me that, where it was like, you're going to have a hard enough time. don't beat yourself up with it. They're going to beat you up enough. You got to get past them. And that was a huge lesson for me. So those are like really the people throughout. And then, you know, like I'm one of those dudes. I've had the same best friend since I was 10 years old. You know, and again, I think I'm very fortunate. I'm aware of that. You know, a person who's literally jumped in front of guns for me and would do anything for me. And I think that is something that's very important in this life. Just even, it doesn't have to be that long, 30 something years, but just someone that you just can go, hey man, mask off. Let's talk. Like, this is what's up, you know? And, so I've always had that. So those are really the people that have taken me throughout. And again, they're all gone. I'm a product of loss. I lost everybody in my life. You know, I've lost everyone. I've suffered, you know, I've more death of people from suicides, drug overdoses, you know, unexpected deaths. And I think that I've now placed it in my life as I'm older that all those people that I have lost that were super close to me, they've become like the quilt in a way to make me move forward. Because if I didn't lose them, I don't know if I'd make some of those pivots.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that was a big part of this person dies in 2004 and I decide to do this. I find out my birth father dies on the internet in 2010. He died in 2009. And I found out by ordering his death records and I might not have did this. So it was like one leads to one to one to one. So every time now that anything like that occurs in my life, I'm like, okay, what's the lesson? Instead of going in the tank. So that's really been the kind of the journey of it through in the mentoring. Now I've really kind of taken on that role, not just with my two young sons, but with a lot of people. And that's why I try to support everyone, you know, in any way, you know, because the most valuable thing you can give is your time.
Absolutely.
So people are trying to get it just like you were trying to get it at one point.
Right.
And people don't realize, you know, people feel good donating to something because it's easy. Here's $20, get out of here. You know, whatever, I did that. But their time is the most important.
Absolutely.
So with everything you got going on and acting and family man, I have a serious question. Where did the water come into play and the catchy title 40 ounce?
Well, ounce water.
I'm
Funny.
sorry.
I'll tell you.
I saw you
sitting with a 40.
Trying to add in on your branding.
I got the 20 here. I'll tell you. I'll tell you what's
I'm not
crazy
going to drink because I got
water.
Poland Spring over here.
Yeah, no, keep that low.
And I'm on something else. So this ain't even water. We got to talk about sponsorship, man.
Yeah,
Get us
man,
a taste.
for sure.
We'll drink it online.
You're in the area. You know, listen, it was the craziest thing. When I kind of made that huge change in my life, whatever it was, you know, 2009, 2010, I started really focusing on my health because, again, I looked at the genetics of my family and I went, everybody's got diabetes. Everybody's got high blood pressure. People don't live long. You know what I mean? They're dying in their 60s. I mean, this is not good, right? So I started looking at that, and then I realized the way I was, again, I come from a place where I remember having my first drink when I was 11. I started smoking weed when I was 12. You know, I was doing mushrooms when I was 15. It was like things were happening fast, right? And again, your brain's not even fully developed till you're 26. You know what I'm saying? So the amount of damage I had done to myself in a short amount of time. So when I made this change after the talks with people like Katie Segal, like I referenced, I started drinking a lot of water, like a lot. Like I was drinking like a gallon of water a day because I started running heavy. You know, I was boxing, I was running, I was doing all this different stuff. And I started realizing that by drinking a lot of water, I was feeling a lot better. And I was like, wow, this is like so simple. Why didn't anybody tell me this? It's not that I didn't drink a lot of water, but I wasn't drinking like what I drink now, which is a gallon to a gallon and a half a day, right? And I'm doing this film in LA, maybe 2012 or 2013, Lowriders, that film. And I'm sitting there doing it. And I was always tracking my water. I had this app. my fitness pal, and I was like tracking my water. Oh, I just drank this and I just drank that. And I was like, man, I was on the go. And I was like, why don't they just make this easy? They had 16.9 ounce bottles and 33.8. And why don't somebody just put them in even bottles? This is stupid. It's just stupid. Just put it in even bottles. Then it would help me. So it stuck in my head. And I was like, oh, that would be cool. Somebody's going to do that. Again, one of those things where you think of something, you go, somebody will do it. Not me, but somebody will do it. And then I called my man up who was at the time, he was working for Rock Nation. He was doing Douce and Ace of Spades. He was kind of part of that. He was like helping out with that. He's the only person I ever knew in the beverage business. And I called him up and I said, I have an idea. You're the only person I know in beverage. You should give this to somebody. And again, I went to art school. I used to do graffiti. Like I knew what I wanted. I knew when I had something in here, I could put it in here. So I started drawing 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And I started drawing bottles and I started thinking in my head, even bottles, this, that. And then if you grow up a certain way, things start to connect. I mean, if you've ever been in the hustle, ounce water, right? 420, 20s, 40s, there's things that connect in my mind. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I don't know if anybody remembers this. It was a big part of my life when I remember when I was young was you would go to the store and there would be, now they call it like Stop and Shop brand or ShopRite brand or CVS brand. But back then it was called No Frills. So it would be like, it'd be like Chips Ahoy cookies and then it'd be like cookies. And they'd be like white with black writing. You know what I mean? It was like government cookies. Right. Yeah. And that would be, and you would see that it would be like Coca-Cola and then soda. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm getting the white one with the black. So I always appreciated the simplicity of it in my mind. I was like, this is simple. And yet also like kind of like post-apocalyptic. Like it was just like simple. So I'm sitting here thinking about all this. At the time I was staying in this place, the Ace Hotel. And when you went in the hotel and you went to get in the shower, they had 3 amber bottles on the wall and it said 1, 2, 3. 1 was like body wash, 2 was shampoo, 3 was conditioner. And I was like, this is easy. So here I am, I'm doing this stuff. I go back to New York. I meet with my man. And he's like, you got to do this. I said, I'm not doing that. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, you got to do this. So it's a disruptor. Like nobody's doing this. I had no interest in doing a 40 ounce. I wanted to do the 10, the 20, and the 30. But after doing all the research and meeting with doctors and doing whatever, what came up was you're taught 8 to 10 glasses a day, 80 ounces. Michelle Obama had a drink up campaign, which was 91 ounces or 90. I think it was 91 or 92 ounces a day. And in talking to people, I was like, what's too much water? What's too little? I know what I drink. So a safe number was 80 ounces. Well, we had no money. We couldn't figure out, we needed to do 2 bottles, and the 2 bottles that were divisible by 80 were 20 and 40. I wanted you to have something in your hand that you felt just as cool as how people want a cool watch or they want like dope sneakers. I wanted it to be an extension, especially in an Instagram society where people take more pictures of their food than they do of their kids. Like I wanted it to literally be like, okay, you feel dope having this. So that's where it came from. And what happened, which was so crazy, I don't know, maybe I am stupid. It was like when we came out, the chaos over the 40, like they loved it. And I was like, this is so weird because I guess I never thought of it like that. And it sounds ignorant in a way, but I never thought of it like that until I partnered up with Ebro. And Ebro is one of the owners in the company. And so is Pooh Bear and my buddy Dante, who manages Camila Cabello and Travis Scott and all that. And what happened was their whole take was different than mine. My take was get people to drink more water. That's it. Plain and simple. Hydration made easy. Let us solve your drinking problem. Like, we want you to drink more water. That was it. Their take was like evolution of the mind. You can't push this on us anymore, because if you remember and you go to specific communities, Newport ad, OE ad, Crazy Horse, you know, this is what it was on every, you go to the bodegas, it was like bop, 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 you know, all the, like, you know, the crooked, you know, it was like, this was what everybody, it was just push, 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 push. And in Ebro's mind, it was like, not anymore. And it was an evolution of something that was decimating communities. And I never thought of it like that. I only thought of it that I wanted something dope. I just wanted something that looked cool. And I wanted it for people to track their water. Oh, you can drink 420s and you got your 80. You can drink 240s and you got your 80. I don't care if you do it with a 50 and a 30 or a 20. And I just didn't care. I just wanted you to drink more water because I feel better drinking water. We know the health benefits, especially coming from a family of diabetics, coming from a family with high blood pressure. So that was the whole point of Ounce. And now, thank God, finally, I mean, we released the gold line. We got the black line. We're mainly in New York, New Jersey, about to expand to Philly. You know, we had our best month ever, right, pre-COVID. And now you know, this wound up being like a bit of a blessing in disguise because, you know, we just kind of shaped and twisted our team in a way, you know, adjusting to the new world of e-commerce and kind of all whatever. And it's been a journey, man. That's a business. When you talk about a business of consumer packaged goods in general, a business that's run by people that have legacy people, you know, people that get handed down from pops to pops to pops. And they're in that lots of money, scared of what they don't know. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and it's been a fun one. But yet at the same time, it's been I mean, it's water. All it is water.
Yeah.
That's just water.
And it helped the hip hop festival last year too as well. Yeah, you guys was able to feature that. How was that, man?
Yeah, I love, you know, just talked to Capers and Qualler and all them down there. I love everything. I'm going to do whatever the hip hop festival needs for the rest of my life. I'll always do for them because, again, when anybody's trying to start anything and you're going against giants are the Tribeca Film Festival. Giants are Sundance. Giants are these people that have millions and millions and millions behind them. And you're also going for, it's a smaller demo that's going to support you, truly support you.
Right.
Not the people who feel cool supporting you, you know, and that's the funny thing is the fair weather nature of it all. Right. And so with the Hip Hop Film Festival, it was like, once they reached out to me, it took, when Koala called me up, who I've known, you know, forever, it was like, whatever they need, like whatever I can do, I'll do. I don't care what it is. Because again, we go back to time, because I've been there. I started as an extra and no one gave me time. And when I was, you know, busboying or waiting tables and still hustling at night and doing whatever I had to do, no one gave me time. But they could have, they just didn't. And I'll never forget. I mean, I got a Rolodex in my head of the people who never gave me the time. But and that's just their deal. That's their own journey or whatever. But I've always looked at it like, and I always told myself in my head, because there were certain people that did give me time who were in a big spot. And maybe it wasn't even in the way that some would think, but I'll never forget, like when I was a waiter in LA and I was this brash New Yorker, you know, I'd just gotten out there. I only waited tables like the first 2 years. And Jamie Foxx used to come into the place all the time, and pre-Ray. And his deal, he had a deal. He was going to tip you 50% no matter what he got. If he got one bottle of Heineken, it was $4, he's giving you $2. If you ordered 5,000 shots and it was a $10,000 bill, he's going to give you $5,000. Like, it was this thing that you were like, that's my man, I'm going. And he was so real about it. And he was so cool about it that for every one of him, there were 20 who were the polar opposite. And these are the people you're seeing on TV. You're seeing on albums, you're seeing whatever. And they would come into this really famous place that I was working, not ever thinking that I'm ever going to make it anywhere. And just horrible people. So when the ones step out like him, who was so great and took the time, hey, what are you doing out here? What's going on? Oh man, keep your head down, do this. And it was like, oh shit, okay. All he had to do was talk to me for a minute. This was like Living Color and like Booty Call or whatever. Like after that, it wasn't like, you know what I mean?
Right,
This was
right.
pre-Ray. It was
pre-prime Jamie Foxx.
pre-prime Jamie Foxx. This was like, I think maybe the movie we were just talking about today that he got from Diddy, the football movie. What was the movie? Oliver Stone, where he played the running back. Any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday, yeah.
But it was like, it was just so cool that he did that. Probably doesn't remember it. Probably talked to 100 other waiters there, whatever. But it was like, I'm talking with someone who's made it and doing what I want to do. I'm going on 6 auditions a day, and this guy had done it. And again, for every one of him, there's 20 that were not like that. So for me, again, back to with CR, with Capers and the Hip Hop Film Festival and everybody out there, it's like, what do you need? If I can do it, I'll do it. Because that's what we're supposed to do. And especially if the needle's going to get moved. Because it can't be take yours and run. It can't. And as much as people feel that they need to do that, you can't do that. I just got heavily involved in like prison reform. Nobody's involved in prison reform.
Oh.
I got heavily involved in it, and I'm going down the rabbit hole and doing whatever I can for it because it's not attractive for people to get into. But when you know the truth about prison, and if you have friends who are in prison, and if you know what goes down with prison and how insidious and nefarious it is, I have to get involved. It's like, and even if I can't do much, I got to do whatever I can because it's like the worst thing that you can possibly think of when you start to know what's really going down and what's being targeted and how the system works. Again, my time, my effort. So it's, again, between Ounce Water, between acting, between being a dad, the most important, and being a mentor and being whatever, that's probably why I don't kind of party or do whatever anymore, anything like that. And it's been so long now, I can't even remember, because I got to kind of be in my right mind 24/7 because I want to do all these things before I go, but not just for me. I don't care about me. I'm done with me. I've done everything I kind of want to do. I'm going to do as much as I can, but I'm good. I think there's nothing better than like watching people succeed and hoping that you played even the littlest amount in that. And I think that if more people felt like that, things would be better. But we're also all in a place where I think if everybody recognizes the hustle, how about that? I think that as hustlers of any kind, I don't just mean people doing dirt on the street, you're always taught that it's you against everybody.
Right.
But what you have to realize is that the other hustler thinks the same thing. And the other hustler thinks the same thing. And if you unionized it in some way, everybody could eat and everybody could do well. And that's where you have to now at this level where it's not life or death, or maybe it is. If you say it, it's like you have to look at that of like, and I'll give you an example. I said this the other night. Somebody said to me, one of my homies said to me, I said, man, I think I want to go start talking to anybody who wants to listen about acting once a week, once a month down in Austin, like down at one of these community theaters, because a lot of these young actors must be super lost because the business has changed so much and nobody's telling them shit. Nobody's telling them shit. You got these acting teachers who are like failed actors. You got these people who nobody wants to give up the secrets. Nobody wants to say anything. And I said, I'd like to tell them. And he said, don't give it away for free, bro. And I thought, that's kind of stupid. I get it. About the bag. I get it, but there's a time and place, right? Because you could change somebody's life. So it's like, and that in itself, what I've noticed is whenever I do things like that, it always leads to something greater. But if you're not that kind of person, it's silly. So that, and I think that you have to go through a lot of shit. You have to be on the other side of it. And you have to see that you have to claw your way to it to understand that I never wanted anybody to do anything. Would it have been nice? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be who I am, but I'm going to offer it. Doesn't mean that people have to take it. So that's been, that's Ounce Water has just been a part of that. I don't know if I can go back if I would do it because it's been a big thing. I think that it's I love it, meaning that what it represents. I want people to be healthier, and that's it. That's kind of always been my thing, and now thank God it's in the hands of people who can make that happen.
Yeah, man, I'm inspired, man. I'm behind this is
Definitely.
purpose, man. If you ain't getting nothing out of this, it's all about purpose. And I see that, you have a passion for what you do. It's beyond the check. It's beyond the fame. And I just respect it. I'm inspired, man. I'm inspired.
That means a lot.
And I was actually serious about the sponsorship as he drinks that
man.
Poland Springs.
Shut up. 40
he's
ounce
drinking,
tonight.
He's drinking the competition.
Ounce water tonight.
Once we're offline, you just hit me with an address. We'll get a couple of cases over there for sure.
I will do that. We will drink it online. We will talk it up big. We're little. We're starting. I have my own personal health issues, and that's always something I'm conscious of and trying to figure out because I don't want my son to go through or my daughter to go through the same thing. That's the parallels, that we're talking about.
Yeah.
With that said, we done talked about the past, the present. What projects do you got coming up before we close this out? I hear something about zombie-related stuff going on in the future.
Yeah.
What's that about?
I just saw parts of it yesterday. I'm so hyped about it. Army of the Dead is the big one. That's the one everybody's talking about. That's the Zack Snyder one. That's me, Batista, my guy Amari Hardwick, who I just did.
Yes.
That was our second movie in a row together. We've known each other 20 years.
Wow.
So that was super cool. We literally went from back to back. We went from a movie to a movie together, which I think has got to be one of the first time that's ever been done. And, again, we've known each other forever. So that was cool. Bunch of other people, big cast, huge film, biggest film I've ever done. Zack's a wizard, a G with the camera, and he does it all. He films, he directs, he writes. He's a one-stop shop on this grandiose giant stage of thousands of zombies and all this, crazy stuff. So yeah, I just got to see parts of it. I'm super excited. I think that'll be out soon. It's a Netflix thing. Netflix is kind of where it's at now.
Booming.
Killing it.
Killing it.
They dropped that ball with Luke Cage, but they picking up some other things.
I wish I could have continued. But.
Yeah, me too. Especially with the third season, because in the third season of Luke Cage, the way it was supposed to go was my son comes, who's the next Power Man, and
yo, what?
And which was from the comic, and then ultimately kills me at the end of the third season, which was nuts. Yeah, it was nuts.
That was crazy.
Season was nuts.
Well, we're gonna pray Disney decides to say, "Hey."
They won't. The reason they won't is we don't fit.
I know.
It's too violent. It's too violent. I was, fucking people in the head at close range. They don't.
I'm wishing. Maybe.
Yeah, me too. They don't. Yeah.
We get a PG-13. Nah, that's gonna kill it.
That would be horrible. But no. So Army of the Dead, and then this other one, Dear Zoe, with myself. It's based on this book with myself and the girl from Stranger Things. I know the show. I don't know her. Max. Max with the red hair.
I forget her name, but I know who you're talking
Max,
about.
Sadie Sink. She's incredible. So it's the story about a father-daughter. It's a heartbreaker. That same thing will be out, and then there's a crazy movie coming out like July 17th that I did with the dude who wrote and directed Butterfly Effect and Final Destination. It's called Ghosts of War. I don't know what that thing's going to look like. It's crazy. And then the one I went to Venice, Italy with Spike Lee and Nate Parker, a film called American Skin, which Spike produced and Nate, wrote, directed, and it was his first film since Birth of a Nation. And again, that was me, Amari, and Nate. And that movie it's never been more relevant, and it should have, it's going to be one of those films that when it comes out, people are going to go, was that written right now? But shit doesn't change. It's always been. You know what I mean? Like I said the other day, I'm surprised people are surprised. You know what I mean? It's like when people are like, I didn't know any of this was happening. I'm like, okay. I'm surprised people are surprised. So this film is really heavy. And yeah, I got to spend, 4 or 5 days, whatever, in Venice with Spike Lee. So I was like hyped out of my mind.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was just amazing.
Yeah, I
just
bet.
to kick it with him, and because he's just the dude. Like, I mean, and I'm a Nick fan. He's just the guy. Like, you're a New York guy, and you're just like racking that brain of like, how'd you do this and how'd you do that? And he's just so unique. So yeah, all that's coming out, and then a couple other things we're talking about right now. But nobody knows what's going down. Nobody can film. Nobody could. Nobody knows anything. And then that's it. And then the podcast has been killing it. I started a podcast during all this, and it's blew up. Thank God. And it basically mirrors my varied interest. I have everybody on from again, Sadie from Stranger Things, my buddy Zack, who plays Shazam, to my guy Ryan Lowe, who did 24 years, 16 months in the hole, and 24 years in prison when he was 17, and now is one of the biggest advocates against the prison industrial complex. That episode dropped today. I do these Reaper reviews with the guys from Sons of Anarchy. I got Mustafa coming on the show, Rey Mysterio Jr., wrestling people. I'm all over the place. So yeah, I'm all over. You're speaking
in me right now.
I'm all over. My mind is all over. So that's Theory with the podcast, and that's it, man. Just keep them busy. We got a bunch of stuff going down, and more importantly, just trying to listen, man. A friend of mine used to say, Stretch, he used to say, don't talk about it, be about it. I'm just trying to be about it.
Exactly. And that's what the BKS, that's definitely what we're trying to do at the BKS Experience.
I love
and
it.
Before we let you go, we're going to have to pull your card since you came up in the birthplace of hip hop in that area.
He got it.
So let's see what you got. I'm going to be easy at first, but
if I get anything wrong, I'm going to deny it and say I'm tired. I don't know.
Just take a sip of water. You'll be fine.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Here we go. This is actually, like we said, it's the Pull Your Card Experience. It's an actual card game that I just dropped. I'm going to grab my cards.
Okay.
Let me see. We're going to pause that in the editing. Don't worry about all that.
In the edit, he's not going to be picking up the card.
He's gonna be like, wait,
leave it in.
Oh, he will. He likes to do that. Let's see where we at with this. Okay, I'm just making sure I didn't pick up the wrong ones. Okay, so with that said, here we go. I was gonna take it easy, but I lost that card.
Damn.
All right, so we're playing an actual game called the Pull Your Card Experience, the Hip Hop Edition, and we're going to test your hip hop knowledge. Man. With that said, let's get into it.
Let's go.
Joe Claire and Big Les were hosts of this music video series. Was it A, BET Uncut, B, Hits from the Streets, C, Jam Zone, or D, Rap City?
Say it was Les and
Big Les and Joe Claire.
Yeah, Joe Claire and Big Les. Man, I'm confused on it. It was
I'm gonna give it to you one more time. I'm gonna give it to you one more time.
It's on you, man.
I'd say you're looking. I have it down to two. I have it down to two, but go ahead.
A, BET Uncut. B, Hits from the Streets. C, Jam Zone, or D, Rap City?
Rap City.
You got that correct, my boy.
Got it. I was like, yeah.
If you'd have said BET Uncut, that was another show. It was a quality show.
No. That was where I was thinking. I kept thinking. I don't know what I was thinking about. Something totally different. But go ahead.
Okay, this is gonna be
right
easy.
in.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't. That was only because the cards dropped, and I had to. I'm gonna go back to the one I was originally gonna ask you. Okay. This should be an easy one. This is a hometown favorite for you.
Yep.
At the 1998 Grammys, which Wu-Tang member told the audience, "Wu-Tang is for the children"? Is it A? Go.
ODB. I don't need anything on that. My son has the shirt. Wu-Tang is for the children.
There you go.
That's what I'm talking about. I ain't even got to say that. No. All right. Here we go. Now, this one, it should be easy. I don't know. Which artist is also known as the teacher? Is it A? Big Daddy?
When you cut him off, that's when you know you got it.
He getting a little confident.
He's top 3 for me.
Okay.
Top 3.
Who recorded the song "I Left My Wallet in El Segundo"? Was it A?
Woo. Just turn it up a little bit, man. Turn it up, Ty.
Damn.
I don't want them because we won't get the water.
No. Listen,
he already went 3 in a row.
Yeah, I got 4 right. I'm good. You know, even if I go 0 for 3 for the next whatever, I'm good. I'm batting. You know, my
okay. So I pre-selected things. This time I'm about to.
Okay, you're getting random.
Whatever the first one is.
Shit.
Actually, no, not the first.
Let's get it. You got it, Theo.
It better not be West Coast.
I don't know if you know this, but here we go. Rakim is this rap artist's first name. Is it A, ASAP Rocky, B, Drake, C, Joey Badass, or D, Schoolboy Q?
It's funny because I was going to say the RZA because he used to be called Prince Rakim.
I know you was.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that, but he's not available. I think, and I think I could be completely wrong. I thought I saw this somewhere. I believe it was ASAP Rocky, but I could be wrong.
Wow.
I did, right?
My brother. Wow. Wow. Perfect
Defeated.
Score. Oh,
Perfect
my
score.
God.
Undefeated.
Listen.
Theo Rossi, ladies and gentlemen.
Pop your collar.
Yes, sir. So they said hip hop lives in his veins, man. You can't be from Staten Island. I know that.
That's it. I'm excited that I did see that somewhere. I'm glad that my mind's not gone yet.
It shows your style of acting does pay off because you pay attention to the fine details and helps you execute, and that does work. So, and you also adapt and learn. So you're doing your thing, man. I'm so proud of you and everything,
Thank you,
man.
I'm so proud of you guys. I really appreciate this. It's such a great show, and yeah, man, keep doing it because it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, man.
Yeah,
Before we let you go, we just need you to say your name, maybe how people would know you, and give a shout out to the BKS Experience.
Theo Rossi. You know what it is. I don't need to say it. I'm going to start going by the first name, just Theo. Just that's it. We're going like that. Watch Luke Cage, watch Sons of Anarchy, watch Low Riders, watch whatever. Soon to be whatever's coming out. Shout out to the BKS Experience. I'm honored and humbled to be here.
My brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hit you up in the DMs later. We
man.
Get that situated.
I appreciate you guys, and thanks for the time. And like I said, man, keep getting at them. And if anybody else gets 5 for 5, I want to take them on the lightning round.